My name is Kaylee. I thought I could do it too, so I signed up for online yoga, but my body was so stiff that I got a cramp in my leg after just 10 minutes and retired after only one day. I'm a 40-year-old with absolutely no athletic ability. Just 10 minutes of yoga, and I was suffering from muscle soreness and hip pain. Oh dear, I kept hoping that some exercise equipment from a TV infomercial might change me. But then I remembered the one I bought before. Now just a dusty piece of decor in the corner of my room. Time to be realistic, I guess. Oh, how I wish I could just sleep and wake up flexible and slim. Well, today I'm going to tell you a story from when I could still feel the muscle pain on the same day. Not 2 days later. Please listen to my story. This was when I was 27 years old. Caden, a friend from my college days and now my partner, and I were ready to make marriage vows and headed to our respective family meetings. First, it was off to my parents' house.
I expected a scene like, I won't give my daughter away in marriage.
Mr. Rick, I will definitely make Kaylee happy.
We even practiced responses the night before, anticipating such a scenario. But it wasn't like that at all. Instead of a dramatic refusal, my dad was overjoyed, saying it's a relief someone's willing to take such a clumsy daughter.
Wanting not just a daughter but a son too, suggested playing catch.
Mom and I tried to stop them, saying, "How old are you guys?" But I think my parents were happier about my marriage than even I was. Next, off to Caden's family. But I'd heard things from Caden, and his family was a whole different story.
The first thing that opened the door was, as expected, they said, "Welcome." But then Caden's dad said, "Line up all the shoes at the entrance."
What?
Of course, I'd line up my own shoes. Even I, as untidy as I am, know that much. I arranged my shoes properly facing the house. But all of them? Like the whole family's shoes? I looked at Caden in disbelief.
Silently, he shook his head and mouthed, "Just ignore it."
As I thought, is this really okay? I was led by Caden into the living room.
Sitting on the sofa facing Caden's parents directly, I felt intimidated. Maybe because of the earlier line up the shoes incident. Caden was also on edge, and I thought, maybe I've come to heaven. And I thought, maybe I've come to hell.
As I mentioned on the phone, I'm getting married. This is Kaylee, who will become my wife.
The wedding is planned for next spring. Caden's business-like explanation made me see the struggles he had faced. Actually, Caden really dislikes his parents due to certain reasons. He didn't even want to do this marriage introduction.
If they're your parents, you can't just stay silent about the marriage forever. It's better to tell them now than to have them find out later.
I had to say, or Caden would have married me in secret, without inviting his parents. Caden's getting married. Great. Cleo's getting old, and we've been wanting some support. I was shocked at his words. After a sigh, Caden literally held his head in his hands.
"I'm so happy Kaylee's coming. If you're getting married next spring, you need to move in with us soon."
Huh?
I blurted out stupidly. Move in with them?
I'll teach you everything about being a bride from scratch. I have to pass down our family's recipes and Caden's favorites. There's so much to learn.
Once after Caden proposed, I joked, "I guess I have to learn your family's cooking."
He responded, "Anything but that." He dislikes his family cooking so much that it brings back bad memories. And any dish labeled family recipe instantly feels unappetizing to him.
Remembering this, I was stunned.
If Caden and Kaylee live with us, she can do her bridal training, and they'll have kids soon. 2 birds with 1 stone.
I was taken aback. Before we even had a proper marriage discussion, Caden's parents were already advancing their bright family plan.
Yeah, if you live together, have a boy and a girl each, we'll take care of them. If you have 2 in a year, you can have many more later, right, Cleo? I always dreamed of a house full of grandchildren, right, Cleo?
To Caden's dad, I must look like a bird capable of laying multiple eggs at once. Or does he think I should consult a shaman to increase the chances of having twins? It's unclear whether he skipped health education or just has a smooth brain. But this is more than a tall order. I had so much I wanted to say it would probably reach the height of Everest. But being the future daughter-in-law, I had no choice but to keep quiet like a borrowed cat. In my place, Caden said, "Don't go making plans on your own," effectively freezing the atmosphere.
That's the situation. We're done here.
With that, Caden took my hand and we left his childhood home. As you might have guessed by now, Caden's parents are, well, quite odd. We've been dating since our freshman year in college, and back then his parents would call his cell phone incessantly during our dates. Ignoring them led to a barrage of questions.
Ignoring them led to a barrage of worried emails every few minutes, wondering if something had happened to him.
Notably, the more anxious his parents got, the more frequent the messages came. In his sophomore year, Caden, having saved up from his part-time job, moved out of his parents' house. He even blocked their calls on his cell phone. But when they couldn't reach him and got worried, they showed up at our university and secretly followed Caden back to his apartment, finding out where he lived. From there, it was yet another challenge for Caden. The apartment was his sanctuary, earned through hard work, and a respite from his parents' intrusive calls and unexpected visits to his job. "Looks like I have to move again," he said. But as a student, he didn't have the money for that. Affordable places aren't easy to find either. Caden, having just moved and then discovered by his parents, ended up being followed by them again. To make things worse, they misused their parental authority and made spare keys without his permission. Once, after university, we went to Caden's place together and found his mom there.
I folded your laundry and bought soy sauce, and I've added some new underwear for you, she said.
Both Caden and I were speechless.
Cleo's actions seemed kind, but Caden's a grown man.
Being told by a parent in front of his girlfriend about buying new underwear isn't exactly pleasant. Caden's parents are overbearing, the epitome of helicopter parenting. After becoming working adults, Caden moved away from his hometown to a place where his parents couldn't easily visit. I followed him, finding a job in the same area, and we continued our relationship smoothly, leading to marriage.
So I fully understand the ulterior motive behind their move-in with us and have 2 kids suggestion at the family meeting.
As an adult, Caden barely visited home and kept his distance, only unblocking his parents' calls in case of emergencies. He had a separate phone for family and personal use, mostly ignoring calls from his parents. His parents, seemingly desperate not to lose him, probably saw this as their last chance to keep him tied to the family home. They might be planning to burden us with household chores, then step in as the doting grandparents, making us feel grateful and unable to leave. When Caden reported our marriage over the phone, he was told after marriage, living all together with your parents and many grandchildren is the best.
His parents don't want to let go of Caden and probably relish the idea of raising grandchildren with Caden's blood.
As you can see, they adore Caden. However, during our student years, I was very much disliked by his parents.
Every time we met, they would say, "You really don't match, Caden," out of the blue. I wanted Caden to date someone I chose, Cleo once told me.
But now that I'm the wife who will bear Caden's children and do housework, their tune has changed. According to Caden, the moment he announced our engagement, they completely flipped their stance and were overjoyed. That's what led to this scene during our marriage introduction. Both my family and Caden's, while they both were happy about the marriage, the direction of their joy was just too different. But I chose Caden knowing about his parents. I see Caden as a different person from his parents, and I know he is truly different from being by his side. I can let any comments about myself slide without batting an eye. I was prepared for that. A few days after the marriage introduction, Caden received a voicemail from his dad. Why a voicemail? Why the answering machine? Ignore initial calls from parents, then listen to the voicemail to decide. Because it's Caden's rule. Did they go back to their overbearing ways after the marriage announcement? It seemed Caden's dad wanted to talk to me. Since we hadn't exchanged contact information, he must have thought to reach me through Caden. However, the voicemail just said, "Kaylee, call me back," without any explanation.
Caden said, "You don't have to call back, but despite my bad feeling, they are my fiance's parents."
As a future daughter-in-law, I couldn't just ignore them. So I decided to call Caden's dad, only to immediately regret it. Right after connecting, he scolded, "Kaylee, you took too long to respond." It hadn't even been 20 minutes since the call. About the living together matter, everything's ready, and the date's set. Come to our house next Tuesday. What? Wait, I have work? Why are you deciding this without me? What? That's unnecessary. Your bridal training is for the future, for your eventual children. It's more important than work. So doing housework at your place will benefit my future children. Rather, I imagine a future where I miss the timing to have children, being chased by both housework and work, and then being nagged about, where are the grandchildren, all while being worn out. Also, Cleo and I discussed, the boy will do judo. For the girl, figure skating. Like Ashley Wagner. What are you talking about? Isn't it obvious? The kids' extracurricular activities. Judo could lead to a stable future in law enforcement. And if she's like Ashley Wagner, wealth and fame are at her fingertips. Perfect, right? So he thinks everything will go as planned. Does Caden's dad see Ashley Wagner as some sort of oil tycoon? Swinging a bamboo sword doesn't mean you easily become a police officer, right? For the girl, let's see. I'll have you give birth to at least 3, and I'll find wealthy families for them to marry into. John from the neighborhood is in his 40s, but he's a landowner. By the time the kids grow up, he'll be a dependable adult.
John from the neighborhood is in his 40s, but he's a landowner. And Kaylee, you'll quit your job. You won't be able to take care of Caden and us otherwise. It's not good to overexert yourself. Focus on the household.
After more of Caden's dad's talks on the future of the grandchildren and what a daughter-in-law should be, and him saying,
Prepare for the move next week. I finally ended the call.
I had so much to say, but he talked non-stop, giving me no chance to interject, planning even for the future marriage partners of children not yet conceived. The family might be more problematic than I had imagined and prepared for. At this rate, my future daughter could end up married to the 40-year-old John, who might be a pain in every sense in the future.
The moment I hung up, Caden immediately asked, "How was it?" With concern, I told Caden everything that was said on the call.
Listening to it, we came to one conclusion. That was the backdrop for the episode and our marriage introduction. Caden's parents are probably trying to do through their grandchildren what they couldn't do with Caden. Caden, who's been somewhat estranged from his family, would likely become even less likely to visit them once married and having his own family. His parents must have figured that out. Perhaps they thought young grandchildren would obediently accept what their grandparents say. That's what we thought they must have concluded. They're pouring all the attention they once gave Caden into the grandchildren they haven't even been blessed with yet. Too scary? And if we do have children, they would probably cling to them, just as they did with Caden, even if they're still in the womb. Living together would make this a reality. From the cradle to the grave might be a stretch, given their age and the children's age, but the absurd command to produce 2 kids while living together makes sense now. Caden and I discussed this and made a decision. A week later, on the Tuesday we were told to move in, Caden and I visited his parents' house. His parents, beaming at the return of their beloved son and the wife who would bear their future grandchildren, had their expressions freeze upon seeing us.
Caden's dad's gaze shifted slightly behind Caden.
This is my dad and mom, Rick and Sarah. We came to say hello.
Caden said with a smirk, which his parents smoothly accepted as, "Oh, is that so?"
My dad relaxed and saying, "Hello, I'm Rick," and my mom smiling awkwardly.
Well, Kaylee's parents. No need for such formalities, but thank you. Please come in. Don't worry. I'll take good care of your daughter. Please come up. Take good care of her. Such a convenient phrase. In reality, it's more like being sent as a helper than a daughter-in-law.
That was the backdrop for the episode and our marriage introduction. Caden's parents are probably trying to do through their grandchildren what they couldn't do with Caden. Caden, who's been somewhat estranged from his family, would likely become even less likely to visit them once married and having his own family. His parents must have figured that out. Perhaps they thought young grandchildren would obediently accept what their grandparents say. That's what we thought they must have concluded. They're pouring all the attention they once gave Caden into the grandchildren they haven't even been blessed with yet. Too scary. And if we do have children, they would probably cling to them, just as they did with Caden. Even if they're still in the womb, living together would make this a reality. From the cradle to the grave might be a stretch, given their age and the children's age, but the absurd command to produce 2 kids while living together makes sense now. Caden and I discussed this and made a decision. A week later, on the Tuesday we were told to move in, Caden and I visited his parents' house. His parents, beaming at the return of their beloved son and the wife who would bear their future grandchildren, had their expressions freeze upon seeing us.
Who is that with you?
Caden's dad's gaze shifted slightly behind Caden.
This is my dad and mom, Rick and Sarah. We came to say hello.
Caden said with a smirk, which his parents smoothly accepted as, "Oh, is that so?"
My dad relaxed in saying, hello, I'm Rick, and my mom smiling awkwardly.
Well, Kaylee's parents. No need for such formalities, but thank you. Please come in. Don't worry. I'll take good care of your daughter. Please come up. Take good care of her? Such a convenient phrase. In reality, it's more like being sent as a helper than a daughter-in-law.
In reality, it's more like being sent as a helper than a daughter-in-law.
But Caden kept that mischievous grin and declined. No, we're fine here.
I've been with Caden a long time, but I've never seen him smile like this at his parents.
What are you saying, Caden? It's only polite to invite guests in, Caden's mom said, reaching out to gently pull Caden inside.
But Caden sharply brushed her hand away.
Idiots. Don't think for a second we're here for a living together greeting. I just got away from home. Why would I move back?
Huh? Caden's parents looked at each other confused.
Today we came to inform you that Caden will be marrying into my family, I said. Regarding your recent proposal for us to live together, Caden and I have decided to live with my family. We can't accept your offer.
As I said this, Caden, who had been smirking earlier, now looked at my dad with a bright smile, saying, I should have done this from the start. I'm gonna be their son now.
Let's buy some gloves, my dad said.
And the park near the station is great for catchball, Caden added.
Those two, one almost in his 30s and the other nearing 60. I begged them to stay away from catchball.
I remember Mom would always follow me when I played with friends, so as a kid, no one wanted to be around me. In middle school, I couldn't join any clubs because they said it was too dangerous to come home late. I was treated like a princess despite being a guy. I was like Rapunzel, trapped in my own home. Even if I grew my hair long, no one would visit me with my mom always watching. Anyway, I had to keep my hair buzzed short because of Mr. Porter's orders. So there was no hair to grow out in the first place. In high school, when I secretly got my hands on a sexy photo collection, Mom told me I threw it away because it was torn from flipping through it too much. Do I have no privacy? I'm not allowed in my room, and I do my own cleaning. So why did she need to go in there and throw away my Bible? Even when I finally made friends, I couldn't eat snacks or buy food. I had to eat what my parents cooked. The backlash from all that restraint hit when I started living alone in college. I got obsessed with convenience store food for the first time and gained weight. Mom always chose my clothes. Imagine being a high schooler forced to wear uncool sweatshirts with dragons or some weird arowana fish on them.
Not just for me, but perhaps because my parents were there too. Caden was talking in a self-deprecating, somewhat humorous way, but each of these stories represented the struggles he'd been forced into by his parents. He was always unable to do normal things like everyone else, Even his university choice was influenced by his parents' policy of no dating until 30. That's why I was disliked as the woman who stole Caden away. As he grew up and realized my family is strange, Caden gradually broke away from his parents' rules. I'm truly grateful for his rebellious spirit. It's what allowed us to meet. Oh, for your sake, Caden's mom said weakly. His dad added more forcefully, that's right, Caden. I was never happy with any of it. I've said that many times. What do you mean for my sake? You just use me to satisfy yourselves. Caden's words brought tears to my eyes. How much of his precious time had he sacrificed for his parents? I'm reluctant to say this to his parents, but please stay away from Caden from now on. He will be my husband and an important son-in-law in my family. He hasn't been free until now, so I want him to live as he likes from now on. You're saying we didn't give Caden freedom? Caden's mom, enraged by my words, raised her hand to slap me. I braced myself, but then there was a snap sound. It didn't hurt. Caden had been hit instead. I never thought that life was freedom. And I don't want my children to be near people who raise me that way. Worrying about children's hobbies or marriage partners is normal, but I think they should be free to choose. Above all, you don't see Kaylee as family, just a convenient tool. I don't consider you my parents either. I don't want any more ties with a family like that. Caden's parents listened in shock to his heavy words, filled with years of pent-up feelings. Wait, I understand you marrying into their family, but you can't mean stay away from us for real, right? Caden's mom approached, trembling. Caden immediately countered, "Don't come any closer. What do you mean understanding? I'll become a son-in-law. Acting all high and mighty. It's because you don't start with an apology that I dislike you." "What? What should we apologize for?" Caden's dad asked desperately.
We should have spoiled you more. We'll spoil you from now on, so come back.
Most of their messages were like that.
As Caden put it, they're not really apologizing. They're just trying to manipulate me into coming back.
Ultimately, they never apologized for everything they had said to me. The real issue, from the beginning, Caden had realized they never cared about him. Becoming a son-in-law and dropping their family name, even if they reconciled, he would trust them and would keep his distance. The failure to find the correct answer led to a de facto estrangement. His parents, claiming to love their child, had actually known nothing about Caden. As Caden said, it was parenting just to satisfy themselves. Years after the relentless apologies from his parents.
Now you can openly look at sexy photos. I might even borrow them.
Caden joked in the maternity ward, holding his long-awaited first son. Yet Caden and I shared a smile at this scene. The topics might lack decorum, but it was a warm and wonderful time. With Caden's earnings increasing, I worried he might irresponsibly splurge on such photos or videos for our grown son. Of course, I have faint hopes for how I want my children to be, but ultimately, what they want to be is up to them. That's what trusting your children means. I look forward to seeing their futures unfold. As a family, we plan to continue living healthily and happily, uniting our strengths as parents.